Thank you. So letting the sound of the bell bring us into silent space together. Resting back in a direct connection with the experience of this present moment. Letting, at the very beginning, letting whatever physical phenomena that are presenting themselves and are obvious be known. Simply connecting with whatever is predominant right now in this moment. It might be the sensations of the legs or the sit bones on the chair. The sensations of breeze or air across the body. Might be the sensations of the breath as the chest or abdomen rise and fall and rise and fall. Being aware in a natural, relaxed, but direct way of the nature of these experiences. With physical sensation, experiences of hardness, softness, warmth, coolness, pressure, tension, heat, cold, movement, simple things, knowing what is being known directly, moment to moment. Receiving, connecting, and knowing. And noticing with experience what happens to it when you pay attention. Does it get stronger? Does it get weaker? Does it stop? And if so, how does it fade away or stop suddenly? Just paying attention, letting experience inform you of its nature, rather than overlaying an idea onto it. Just resting back and letting life live through you, and knowing that. Bringing the attention now a little closer into the sensations of the breath, if you haven't been there already. Paying attention here also in the same way. Observing carefully, with care and devotion. This is the breath that keeps us alive. So observing that movement, that play of pressure and tension and release as it manifests moment to moment. Dropping into bare sensation, not my breath, my body, my lungs, my belly, none of that. Just simple sensation, moment to moment to moment. Noticing very simply and directly the unique, specific nature of each moment of experience as it comes, as it goes. You don't have to dig or reach for this, but rest back and receive it, however it manifests for you right now. Whenever the mind forgets, drifts off into something that it thinks is more entertaining or interesting, thinking, imagining, planning, thoughts about the practice, thoughts about the future, thoughts about the past, any kind of thought. The moment you notice, just pay attention to that very moment of, oh, thinking. Notice what happens to the thought. And when it goes away, whether quickly or slowly, again, resting back in the breath, gently coming back, beginning again with the breath. Letting this re-inclination be gentle, kind, and really being devoted to this clear seeing of mind and body here and now. Staying with the breath and the clear, natural observation of its nature, moment to moment, trains the mind to be steady, observant, focused. So it's very useful in daily practice to just stay close with this and not to float too much. Train the mind in this way. And bringing in, as you pay attention in the silence, bringing in this beautiful quality of kindness and benevolence to that moment of experience and the being who is experiencing it. Letting the metta, the loving kindness, come close in with the mindfulness. Observing with a tenderness, an interest, a friendliness to each moment of experience, whether it's pleasant, whether it's unpleasant, whether it's interesting, whether it's boring. And letting even experiences such as boredom be met graciously. Any moment of experience, no matter what that experience is, can be the ground and foundation of a moment of waking up. So using everything with kindness, friendliness, interest in the service of that moment to moment to moment. In the last few minutes of the sitting, relaxing and resting back in a natural awareness of what is. Bringing into the foreground this friendly attitude towards whatever you are experiencing right now. And right now. And now. Not trying to fix or change anything whatsoever, but just knowing what is enough. And knowing the nature of what is enough. Simply and directly. Connecting. And when you hear the bell, connecting with that experience of hearing, whatever aspect of it is predominant for you. It could be the sound, it could be the vibration, it could be the perception of bell, it could be relief, anything. But no. So a very warm good evening to all of you. Yeah, it's really good to see you again. And some of you I just saw Wednesday at Kamla's group, Wednesday morning here. So it's really good to see you practicing as much as you can, because these are interesting times. They really are interesting times. And it's only getting more interesting. So here we are. The Buddha was a pragmatist. He didn't live in some kind of airy-fairy realm where everything was nice. But he was awake. He was enlightened. And what that meant and means when this happens to people is that the world can be the way it is, and there's no argument with that. There's no, it shouldn't be this way, or I wish it weren't this way, or I wish it were this way. There is the experience of what the world is, and then the very clear understanding of, okay, now what? How do I want to react, respond? And in the case of a Buddha, the response is always wholesome. useful, in line with the truth, as opposed to what the rest of us tend to do, myself included. I'm a work in progress too. And so the practice that the Buddha taught from this place was very pragmatic. He said, whatever one frequently thinks about or ponders, that becomes the inclination of the mind. It's kind of a duh, of course. Wherever you put the mind, that's going to be the habit that grows. But it's actually very powerful. That simplicity of that is incredibly powerful because we have agency when we pay attention, when we're not just in knee-jerk reactive mode. We have agency to choose in a moment what seeds we'll plant right now, given what's coming at us. The essence of the practice is to find access to that space and grow it so that in any given moment, regardless of what comes to us, we can respond in ways where there's no greed, aversion, delusion, with wisdom and compassion. It takes immense courage to do this practice, to live in this world in that way. Not to be lots of things, but first of all, not to be sucked into everything around us in a way that isn't useful. Not to be sucked into our old habits in ways that are not useful. Not to be sucked into our conditioning in ways that are not useful. Being wise and kind, moment to moment to moment, internally, it's a radical act in this world. And being wise and kind, moment to moment, externally, is a courageous act. Because we might not be doing or saying what other people around us want us to do and say. We won't necessarily be following the herd. I'm sure some of you have had the experience, or maybe it's just me, of being in a group of people. This is the simplest example of this. Being in a group of people in a social setting, and you don't drink alcohol, and people keep pushing it on you. Oh, just a little wine. Why don't you have some? It's not, yada, yada, yada. You have to be very kind of staunch and say, no, I'm sorry, I don't drink. The same can happen around food. Maybe you're on a diet and people say, oh, just, why don't you just have this piece of whatever it is? Here's a croissant, just enjoy it. It won't hurt you if you break your diet. Yeah, you have to say, no, thank you. I really appreciate it, but I really don't want that right now. Or maybe you do want it, and, please don't put that in my face because it's too much temptation. Sometimes we have to say things to people to set boundaries when we're living from this place of choice, of wisdom and compassion. No, I don't want to go shopping and buy something I don't necessarily need. Or no, I don't, saying to your partner, confronting some aspect of your mutual life that isn't working for you. And you have to speak about it. Or a work colleague, or somebody gets in your face and you have to say, no, that's not okay. So this life of practice does not only live on the cushion. You know this very much. It lives in our conversations, in our interactions, in speaking and being silent. I can't count the number of times I have chosen to be silent rather than to voice my opinion when it goes against what somebody else is saying. Just because the situation doesn't need one more opinion. And I don't always have to be right. It's kind of nice when that happens, but you know what? Sometimes it's nice to just let somebody else have a voice, even if we don't agree with it. But if something is definitely, no, that's not okay to say that, we have the courage to say it. So this is also practice. Ooh, it's really hard practice. Sometimes the hardest practice is just saying no. It's such a short word. So hard to say. Because we don't want people not to like us, and if we say no, we're afraid they won't. But we want friends to like us whether we say no or yes. So this helps us choose our friends. It requires we step into space a little bit in our lives. Step into that, not knowing how people are going to respond, but standing our ground. And it can be so complicated, can't it? Somebody asked, I was just at a retreat in Sweden, and somebody asked in the question period, how do I deal with people in my Dharma community and the Dharma community in my country? This person was from the Netherlands, where there's a demand to go out and protest against the war in Gaza, to, be very vocal about how that is not okay. And there was a lot of pressure on him to do that. And it wasn't that he was thinking that, you know, the Israelis were all doing wonderful things, but he's a quiet kind of guy. And he says, why can't I just radiate metta? And he says, the problem is when I do that, people call me an enemy. They say I'm siding with the Israelis. I'm siding with the bad guys by not, being vocal. And so it gets complicated, but we have to stand our ground, set a boundary. It's okay to be quiet. It's okay not to be perfectly politically correct. Never mind the pressure to be politically correct. There's so much in this world of virtue signaling that doesn't go any deeper than that. But wisdom and compassion is always much deeper than just putting a few words on our profile and saying the right words to people. It's being truthful. It's being kind. It's being honest, knowing when to speak and knowing when to be silent. And there are no rules for that. It's situational. So that's why all of that is practice. And it's grounded in something that the Buddha taught explicitly. That being ethical conduct, the basic 5 precepts. I cannot say how much I love these. This is so funny to say that, but in this world today, when hatred has become fashionable and all kinds of speech are allowable, I take refuge in a daily recitation of, I undertake the training to refrain from harming living beings. I undertake the training to refrain from stealing. I undertake the training to refrain, in my case, from sexual activity, in your case, any sexual activity that's harmful. I undertake the training to refrain from lying. I undertake the training to refrain from taking intoxicants. Simple, simple, simple. trainings. They're not commandments that we must hold, but they are trainings. And a training is a training because we're not perfect. So yes, sometimes we break those precepts. And for all of us, usually it's small ways. We're not walking around harming other people in large ways. But maybe we brush the ants off the counter with a little more vigor than we should. Yeah. Oops. And then when in that moment, we take the precept again. So having these precepts as a daily practice brings you home to this center of still, kind intention. So I love to begin the day with the precepts, just repeating them to myself silently. And I repeat my monastic precepts, but just those 5 precepts. Once upon a time, all monastics at the time of the Buddha just kept those 5 precepts, and that was it. People started being people and misbehaving, so he had to make rules every single time somebody did something stupid. Okay, now you can't do that. But all of them, even the monastic rules, no matter how many hundred are being held, are elaborations of those 5. And it's a place of safety for ourselves and everybody around us. And not forgetting, not harming yourself. How do you speak to yourself? How do you act towards yourself? Holding yourself in that field of kindness, because these precepts are ultimately a metta practice as well as a mindfulness practice. They're both. We need mindfulness to do it, and they are the essence of metta. And then going out into the world and living our lives, finding a way to be present, kind as much as we can, honest as much as we can, good-humored as much as we can. Basing all of that on the understanding that in those moments of choice, what seeds we plant count. So being kind to your future self by planting seeds now. We think of our future self as some other person out there. Not me. But whoever that person will be, and however long that person lives, they will reap the benefit of what we do in a moment now. So they'll reap the benefit of this last period of practice that you just did. And of sitting here tonight reflecting about the Dharma. And not only they, but the people around them will too, because when we reap the benefits of practice, so does everybody else. Because how we are in the world comes from that. And we'll be more effective in the world, no matter what we do and what we say. It's the ultimate act of kindness in these interesting times, to just come back to that simplicity of practice. And remembering we cannot fix the world. It is what it is. No. We have some agency right around ourselves, and some people in this world are fortunate in that they have a wider reach and they can do more good in the world. But most of us, myself included, we just right around us have some agency and some effect. But the thing is, here is the place not to judge yourself, but to be content with small actions and small moments of kindness. Because small moments add up. A lot of a little is a lot. And so contentment with just shining your light, however that is, that's good enough. We don't have to be ambitious. And I have to here embarrass Candle by saying how just how touched I am by what you offer here, Candle, all the time. It's simple. Doing this kind of thing, just steadily offering what you know is so powerful because it goes out into the world. And being the practice rather than sharing the practice is much more effective and much more honest. Anybody can do blah, 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 blah. But actually living it or living in accord with whatever words come out of your mouth, having that absolute transparency, what you see, what you hear is what's actually there, not some image or TikTok or Instagram. That's trustworthy. That's not following the crowd for sure. And having the faith that the benefit of that goes out, and the benefit of that goes out to other people. The benefit of that will go out to the future you, whoever that is, wherever they are. So that's all I really want to say. I really want just right now want to open this up to give you a little heads up what I want to do. I wanted to open it up now for some discussion, questions. I might have a response, I might not. We have a whole hour, and what I want to do is to have some discussion and then end with a bit of metta bhavana, because we all need metta right now, given the world is as it is. So, Margaret, thank you. You please go ahead.
Yes. No, I wanted to thank you for your beautiful words, for your lovely words. Um, I couldn't help but think of a great interview that I heard done recently by two wonderful men. They're professors and they wrote a book, but it's called The Social Biome. And
Oh,
uh,
nice.
and
Yeah, yeah.
and there's a they emphasize the value of these small acts of kindness and connection. And I was moved by what they had to say, and I'm moved but by what you've said this evening. If you'll forgive me, I need to leave early,
Hmm.
but it was profound in the short time that I was here. So thank you.
Thank you, Margaret.
Mhm.
Yeah, however long you can come for. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And yeah, that you might, if you can, put that the reference to that on the chat so we can all find
Mhm.
it because it sounds very interesting.
Okay, I'll try to do
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But Margaret, yeah, you're really so right. It's the small things add up. Yeah. Yes, please, Sandra.
Thank you so much. So much of what you said did resonate. And actually, when you said something about brushing the ants off, I have to say that I have an animal that apparently has taken up some lodging in my home. And as we were meditating, it started scratching around. And I don't know what it is. A rodent of some sort. And I was actually, it reminded me, oh, I meant to call someone about coming and investigating how to get it out of my house, because you don't want a rodent living in your home, right? But
Right.
as we were meditating, I said, don't follow it. Um, and don't get all upset because, first you want to go bang on walls and say, get out. But then I practiced some metta and I said, okay, you're allowed to reside here this evening. I'm passing some loving kindness to you this evening, allowed to just be. It kind of quieted down then. I don't know if I send some kindness out, and I don't want to have it, killed or anything, but I don't want to live with a rodent in my structure. That's just one thing that happened while we were in meditation tonight. That's just kind of interesting that you talked about the ants, and I want to be kind to removing an animal that wants to cohabitate. The other thing, though, that resonated with me so much is about when to be silent. One of the things that I've been experiencing a lot recently, and Candle knows this very well, is very stressful in my day job. And as I was practicing just on Saturday, felt how much my ego is involved. And then also understanding that, whatever people are feeling and that's coming at me has nothing to do with me.
Right.
And I so want to affect change or be, to be able to serve them and make them happy. And yet I can't, which, bruises my own ego.
Yeah.
And today I did manage, when something was coming at me, I managed to walk away from it, which was more quickly than I have in a while. I wanted to get the last word in, and then I stopped and I walked away, and I felt really good about doing that. It just wasn't going to serve anyone by doing that. But the ego, the self, it's really strong right now, because as you said, you want to affect something. And I realize it's, Buddha said, gave a story at one time about, if I give you, try to give you my food and I don't take it, whose food is it? Right? It's still yours.
Yeah.
And if someone's trying to dish something up to you or give you anger, and I don't take it, it remains yours. It's not mine. And I remembered that today, and I just think that's another interesting story. So thank you for all your kind words today.
And thank you for that story, Sandra. No, it's just a wonderful example and exactly the perfect metaphor. Because we don't have to eat other people's anger. Nor do we have to fix it. Their anger is their anger. There's a quality of balance that comes when we understand that. That when we understand all beings are owners of their own actions. We're owners of our actions. We're going to reap the consequences. Other people, their consequences come from their actions. And that's just cause and effect. There's nothing we can do to fix that. So there's a word in Pali I just love. It's actually the traditional phrase when you do traditional equanimity practice as a Brahma Vihara, like loving kindness, compassion, empathetic joy, equanimity in that sense. And the traditional Pali phrase is kamasaka. I think some of you have heard me say this. Kamasaka means ownership of action. And it's not done hard-heartedly, but to acknowledge it's like, oh man, that when we see other people doing things, when we see them planting unwholesome seeds, we know they will reap the consequences. Compassion comes from that. And we don't want to add to that. We don't want to add to the hatred in the world. There's enough of that. We don't have to add to the anger in the world. There's plenty of that. So responding to hatred with hatred, responding to anger with anger, nah, useless. Buddha was really clear in the Dhammapada. Hatred never ceases from hatred, but by love alone. And when that word love, it doesn't mean approval. It doesn't mean we have to like that person. It doesn't mean we don't do anything to defend ourselves or other people if they're doing something wrong. But we have that well-wishing for them. May they be well. May they be happy. May they be content with who they are. Whatever. Thank you. Terry, please.
Yeah, question. Okay. When you were speaking at your last retreat and you told the person that it was okay to be quiet, I want to know, like, Thich Nhat Hanh is like, he got me into this, but what I liked about him is that not only did the practice is good, but he was also an activist. He was part of society.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So to me, I want you, I give you this opportunity to say, well, don't we have a social responsibility to do something? It could be vote,
yeah,
write a letter to the editor, but to just, I don't think you're saying just to stand by, because otherwise then we become complacent, lack of action. And a lot of evil people depend upon the complacency of people doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it could be for any, well, we can't just sit on your pillow, right? So if you get off your pillow and you don't want to contribute to the anger by engaging in a fight, like,
yeah.
or trying to say they're wrong or you're right. You don't want to do that. But don't we have some sort of a social responsibility?
Yeah, we certainly do. And that will look different for different people. Some people will be out on the front lines, protesting, working hard for social justice, environmental justice, whatever kind of justice, racial justice. Some people will even work in that field. Some people are quieter, but just as kind of staunch in their beliefs and firm in their beliefs. And what it can look like for that kind of person is standing up to a family member who might be saying something or, doing something a little outrageous, or saying their own truth quietly, effectively, and in their own way. I want to share an example of this, and it comes from the Netherlands. Because Holland had an unenviable situation in World War II when Germans invaded. They thought they had been neutral in World War I, so they thought that would happen again, and it didn't. And so when Germany invaded Holland, there were a lot of people who just looked like normal, quiet people. They couldn't go out and protest because they'd be shot. They couldn't be so bold as that. But Holland had this amazing kind of underground network of resistance. And some of it just looked like, a normal person in a little village somewhere or at a farm opening their door in the middle of the night to the people bringing children from the city, passing them off as their nieces or nephews, saving their lives, and just going on with their lives. It doesn't mean we need to speak out loudly necessarily if we feel uncomfortable with that or not in a situation to do that. So I think of it as kind of a continuum. Some people take on that responsibility in a very outward way. Some people, they just vote.
Yeah.
Not being passive is the main thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's, yeah. Go ahead, Terry.
What I was going to say is I was thinking about a few years ago, I went to the Unitarian convention they had here, and I went to one of the workshops. And they talked about that in any movement, there are different roles people play.
Yeah.
And the people, just like in a war, the people that make the coffee and set up the chairs are just as important as the people who are, manning the battle, manning the battle out there in front. Everybody has something. And how I'm thinking about it, like, because I've been human rights for like 36 years. I can't, from Amnesty International, I had to count it up once.
Wow.
And that's been kind of like parallel. I was a programmer that paid for everything. But the point is that what I see is, and I hear it, is people like they feel paralyzed, and then they get really depressed, and then they get angry. But then it's like with me, I just turn off I listen to the radio. I don't have I just turn things off and then figure out where I am, because I mean, I just sitting on my pillow is not, the pillow is supposed to give you strength to live life. To me, that's how I interpret it. And it's just, sometimes I wonder, people, they say they practice Buddhism, and then I'm going, and why are you angry? Why are you all upset? You know what I mean by the world? It's like, I don't know. It's like, don't you get it? It's not that complicated. It's not that complicated. It's hard and trying.
Yeah.
But I just want to make sure that, because I just think it isn't do nothing. It's just you don't have to follow the crowd. You don't have to attack the crowd. You don't have to go hide in a cave. Just someplace where you're comfortable.
And not to get caught in anger.
Yeah.
People, one of the things I know from my own life as a conservation biologist before I did this, if I'd kept doing that, I would have grown up to be a bitter, angry old lady. Cynical as heck.
Yeah.
The situation hasn't gotten any better, actually, out there in the world since I did this 25 years ago. But here's the thing. And His Holiness Dalai Lama makes a really, really important distinction between outrage, which is a natural reaction when somebody is doing something horrible, to anger. Outrage and anger are very different things. Outrage motivates in a positive way. And we need sometimes the energy of that. It's like, that's not okay. Heck no. What am I going to do about it in this moment? But not getting angry.
Yeah.
Angry is different. Angry is exhausting.
Yeah.
And exhausts everybody around us. And it doesn't help. One of the people who for me in this life has been just a light and an inspiration just died this week, Jane Goodall.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a wonderful story of how she had her road to Damascus moment when she realized, oh, actually, I have to do something about the state of the world rather than just sitting in the forest studying chimps. I actually have to become an activist. And the first thing she tackled were dealing with the way people were using great apes as research subjects. And one of the first things she did is began to speak with the scientists who were doing that. And she was immediately labeled as a traitor by the animal rights people, which is just that exact thing. It's like we have to keep communicating with each other. Patiently, persistently. And she says what worked, what got things changed, was not getting all finger pointing and saying, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, because the doors are just going to close if you do that. But to explain by way of telling stories to those people about how those animals were in their lives out in the forest, how they related to each other, how they lived with each other and communicated with each other. And telling stories about these beings moved the people who were holding them in cages, and, it changed everything. So that was outrage. It's quiet and very effective. It's not in your face angry.
Right. Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how, because I am an activist, but I'm not into feel good exercises or just,
Yeah.
but I'm into, that's why the Buddhism keeps me calm and centered. And I get off center. That's why I got to get back into it again but sometimes what I'm learning is if people are good, they want to do something.
Yeah.
So we say, well, you can sign this petition here. There's a simple act. And how many times I've heard of people say, well, at least I feel I'm doing something.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when they learn maybe on another campaign that somebody got out of jail, and they go, wow, they feel like they at least can do something.
Yeah.
Maybe it might not matter. It might not happen, but it might.
Right. Right.
And it takes,
right.
Yeah. So it takes them out of being an angry thing, Yeah.
Perfect.
Anyway, I just wanted to make sure because it's easy for people to say, oh, I'll just meditate. Yeah, that's good. But we live in a society.
Yeah. Meditation is a training and a purification of heart. We train the mind in the same way as people train the body before they go mountain climbing.
Yeah.
They go to the climbing wall in the gym and they get their muscles ready and fit and their skill set. Then they go climb the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
So sitting on our cushions is that.
Mm-hmm.
Or sometimes, actually, quite honestly, it's just a way to reconnect and to have a little calm in the storm. But it's what gives us the fuel to keep going. Oh.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Terry. And thank you for all your work out there in the world.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yes, please, Sherry.
Thank you. There's two things that happened over this last week that helped me tremendously in kind of shifting gears and being in another place around the darkness.
Mm-hmm.
And one was actually, I lost two friends of mine, very dear friends.
Wow.
This last 2 weeks. One was my age, I'm 73, and a very dear friend of 40 years. And the other was a very dear friend and a mentor, and she was 98 years old.
Oh, my.
I know. And I got to sit with the 98-year-old for about 4 hours as she was actively dying before the rest of the family came in. And I was able to kind of reconnect to the beauty of that and the letting go of it and the transientness of our lives and also the open heart of holding and witnessing and touching her body. I lotioned her from top to bottom. And she's down to like 90 pounds, and unfortunately the last 8 years she had dementia, and it was really hard. It was hard to be around. I've been around a lot of dementia, so it was easier for me, but and I talked a lot with the family and tried to support the family in how to be with this, and
Mm-hmm.
and it's such a difficult diagnosis to be with, but to be in that place of holding and witnessing and being in an open heart and trying not to judge, as as their time is ending on this plane. And I was I've mentioned before, and I think everybody knows this about me, but I worked in hospice for a little over 10 years, and it was such a gift, because it reminded you of what was really important, which is always the heart.
Yeah.
And where we touch each other and how we touch each other. And even, when I think about the dark times right now, I'm trying to bridge, and not be angry. And yesterday I spent a couple of hours in meditation, and then in talk with Ani Pema Chodron.
Oh my, yeah.
I know. And what she was talking about is what to do with fear right now. And the beauty of what she said, and Terry, I think about what you were talking about, is that ultimately we just need to be the light.
Right.
And that's what clears the fear. And it's also a very dark time, and each one of us can be a light in whatever way in that moment we can be a light. Whether it's just touching a hand or a shoulder, I'm going to cry, or giving a hug.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a very verbal person, so I'm kind of out there. And I was brought up in the 60s. I'm like the activist, and my big question is like, really, we got to do this again? Oh my God. And then of course Pema, being who she is, said, with a dash and perhaps a very large one of humor, bringing you through this time, and it's like, but just knowing that there's fear there, and all that fear does is closes you up. I mean, the moment I feel it, and I feel it,
Oh yeah.
I may be watching something, I may be reading something, and I can just feel like, everything just kind of go like this. And then it's about breath, and it's about calming my inner self down, and kind of just saying, let's whip that light out, and I think about Buddha and why he started Buddhism, and it was because he saw the suffering for the first time in his life, and there's a tremendous amount of it, and I suffer.
Right.
And if we can hold that for each other and witness that for each other and try to bring light to it, my sense is that, and some humor, my sense is that we're going to be able to get through this in hopefully some sort of collaborative, better understanding of really what us humans need to be doing next.
Thank you, Sherry. Yeah. Progress never happens in a linear way, not in our practice, not in life.
Yeah.
And progress is always, especially it from your own experience, all of you, inner progress is always, always followed by a knee-jerk, sometimes, backlash. That's what's happening in the world, too. Progress, regress, progress, regress, progress, regress. We're in a pretty intensive regress right now. And our job in being that light. I love what you said, because it's like, that's exactly it. We just need to do that. And the thing about metta is boundless, without preferences, applies to everybody equally, even the worst people in the world. We can't keep them out either. That's the radical nature of it. So to find an opening, a human opening, even if somebody's wearing a different colored baseball cap than we might, finding a way to connect as human beings. And most people have something good in them. And we hate it when an enemy does something good, because we think, oh no. But even bad people can do good things. Never mind the motivation behind it. But to connect with that little glimmer there, and to have that same well-wishing for them, is a really radical act. It doesn't condone the bad things they do. And it's not passive in the face of that, but it's not slamming the door in their face either. And this is the thing in our world right now that's making it, as far as I'm concerned, so very dark, is there's this dualistic attitude. It's A or B, and if you're not on my side completely 1000%, you're my enemy. Yeah. So
I just wanted, it made me think, sometimes something hits my head and never leaves. Years ago, I was operating a camera, a public access television program, and the professor on there spent some time in Northern Ireland negotiating me the Protestants and the Catholics. And he said one of the first things that he actually says to them is, what role is your enemy going to have in your peace?
Oh, nice.
Because the enemies do not go away.
No.
So
no, they don't.
And I mean, that strikes me is that I don't know what I am. I was about becoming a Democrat. And then now I'm independent. I was a declined state in California, and I'm a green in Oregon because they didn't have a declined state. But it's interesting that, I don't know, that's a different mindset. They're not going away. Their kids are going to be here. And so what do you do?
Now what? That's that moment of pause in any moment of experience. It's like, okay, what seeds do I want to plant right now in this moment? Now what? Now what? Now what? That could be an equanimity phrase. Now what? We create the future. Now what? Yeah. And thank you, Terry. I see, Bob, you've got your hand up, very patiently waiting.
Okay, well, I'm sort of wondering about the morality of it all. You early on, you had mentioned the Gaza situation somewhat, and it seems to me that we all here are the result of a very similar situation when the Europeans invaded the United States and swiped the land away from the Indians. And yet I'm feeling comfortable, living in this time, and I'm seeing what I think is a similar kind of situation happening with the overrunning of the Palestinians by the Jews. And but I'm feeling the beneficiary from all its my forebears had done here. I'm a little disturbed about the morality of it all, and I'm not quite sure how to attack it.
The only place we could deal with morality is in ourselves. We can't fix immorality from before, but we can act with a really strong ethical compass right now, whatever that looks like. I don't know, it's going to look different for everybody. But what does it look like to speak and act from a place of ethics right now in this moment, as opposed to taking what isn't given, harming other beings, and understanding that we live in a human society which is not perfect. So it's not our fault that this happened, but we may need to do something to make it better for the people who are suffering as a response. Somebody else did that. We're the beneficiaries. Now what? That's another now what moment. How do I make it better for somebody? Directly or indirectly. And really being open to listening to each other and respecting each other. There's no simple answer out there, but the internal calculus, the internal process is very much one of, that was bad. And I'm the beneficiary of it ultimately. Now what? And I've read a number of really beautiful stories of people who are the descendants of slaveholders connecting with the descendants of the slaves that their descendants held. And really, now what? First, acknowledging, not as a performative act, but really in the heart saying, wow, I'm really sorry that happened to you and your ancestors. That is unconscionable. Acknowledging the simple acknowledgement. Right now I'm in the Hawaiian Islands where I grew up as a white person, but I feel a deep connection with the Hawaiian culture and the tragedy that befell it in the 1800s when America just came and took it. They took the country. It was a kingdom with a king, actually with a queen. They imprisoned her in her palace. They didn't let her out anymore, and they took it for themselves. Now it's the United States. We are a territory. So, and they just, reaped the benefit of that for over 100 years before a simple apology came from Congress. So that apology was not nothing. That's what should have happened a long time ago. So acknowledging is not nothing. But going on from there, moving forward together, because this world isn't that world. This world is different. And being sensitive and wise and kind as we can. And be willing to make mistakes. People will call you out all the time for mistakes in this culture. American culture is really good at it. And cancel culture is, both sides have it. But being sensitive to each other, allowing each other in, is one way of dealing with that. And if you feel moved to do more, then there's, the internet is your friend. There are many options. There are many possibilities to actually get involved in social justice. I mean, none of us are like, well, maybe I speak for myself, maybe some of you, but none of us are like, Bill Gates or, those guys that have billions of dollars we can give away, but we can give our time, we can give our energy, we can give whatever we can give to make the world a better place. So that now what moment, decide for yourself what it looks like. Let it come from not aversion to the way the world is, but to a positive impulse. The world is messy. Now what? Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, Sherry, you know, that it really, it's really important to remember the transience of this life. It's an eye blink. And at some point, we'll come to an end of our lives, and our dear ones will come to an end of their lives. It's immensely sad. And what it can bring out is just this really deep understanding of what really matters. And it's always about love and connection, not about being right. So take a risk, connect, and you don't have to worry about making a mistake. Just do what you can do. When there's that voice in your head that says, now what? Go ahead, Sherry.
I was just going to say, my mother was a meditator for like 50 some odd years. She didn't sit on a pillow, but she was very much part of it. And the last thing that she said, and I was holding her as she was consciously dying about 10 years ago, and I was holding her. And the last thing that she said is, you know, it's really all about love.
Yeah.
And she took her last breath. That was such a gift.
Yeah. Yeah, that is absolutely true. So in this moment of now what? Candle's got her hand up. And after Candle, what I'd like to do is to do some Metta Bhavana to close. So Candle.
The only thing I wanted to mention was that today is Indigenous Peoples Day. And at the end, in our chat, I'll put ways for us to give Dana to Ayya Virāñāni and for the teachings. And I'll also put a link for Naya, the family center that's in Portland, and they offer cultural and education and resources, and there's ways to directly support them, whether you get involved with them or whether you donate. They just did 2 days of at the convention center of crafts for the weekend, so too late to go participate in that, but it's the Native American Youth and Family Center.
Nice.
It welcomes 90,000 Native peoples. So that's all.
Yeah, thank you, Candle. So I want to close tonight with a little bit of metta. And holding yourselves and anybody who you might know right now who could use a little bit of extra support, kindness, you can hold them in your heart as you do this practice. And I want to put out right now, I'm in Maui at Kamala and Steve's, and Steve has just finished his first round of chemo. He'll have 2 more. It's not easy for him. And he's so cheerful. He just says, I'm still here, still here. But he's tired, thanks to that. And so a little metta for Steve and Kamala would not go amiss. And anyone else you want to hold in your heart. So let's sit back, and this will be short. It won't be very long. But just rest back for a moment with your eyes closed. Connect with your heart. And when you hear the sound of the bell, drop into that place of kindness with either a phrase or just the felt sense of well-wishing. Beginning with yourself. holding yourself with a friendly, kind attitude. Breathing in, feeling the breath, feeling this body. And planting seeds moment to moment with a short, simple phrase of kindness for yourself. Breathing that in. May I be safe and protected. Or may I be peaceful and at ease. Or may I be well, happy, and peaceful. Moment to moment, connect with yourself, with the heart. Repeat that well-wishing to yourself. And connect, or really connect as much as you can with the meaning of the words. What you wish for yourself right now. And from this place of connection, opening out to the world, understanding deeply, just as I want to be happy, peaceful, healthy. All beings everywhere also wish for this. They are the same as I in that. So holding all beings in the heart and planting a seed of kindness with the phrase you've chosen to use, just a short, simple phrase. May all beings everywhere be well, happy, and peaceful. Or simplifying it, if the words seem like too much, to all beings well, happy, peaceful. Including in all beings those beings who are dear to you, who might have come to mind at the beginning of the sitting. Letting them be there amongst the rest. Beings known and unknown, near and far, seen or unseen. No matter what size, shape, kind of being, may all beings everywhere have happiness and the causes of happiness. Inclining to that in the silence, however it works for you best. Understanding that all beings may or may not be happy, but we can wish them happiness anyway, no matter what. So if it helps, you can say, all beings, well, happy, and peaceful anyway. Just adding that anyway to acknowledge that the world is messy and we can wish all beings well, no matter what. Anyway. So inclining to this moment to moment to moment, bringing the heart to this place of kindness, opening and breathing into that moment to moment to moment. When you hear the sound of the bell, please don't stop. Continuing to incline to metta in thoughts, words, deeds. Bringing light into the darkness of the world. And please don't forget, the light of one small candle fills the whole of a dark room. So, thank you for shining. Thank you, everybody. I've left you 5 minutes or so, Candle, to share whatever you need to share by way of announcements or anything else.
Very, very much. Such a delight to have you here. And I appreciate the people who have come, that you're our own private nun.
It's not private Idaho, it's our private nun. I love that.
I so appreciate your willingness to come to our small little group, because we just keep going on twice a month, 4 or 5 or 6 of us. Last time it was only Sandra and I, but I really, really appreciate it. And your way of living is so challenging, especially in these times, but for you, moving and finding places to stay and continuing to teach, and the Metta foundation that you continue to work with. I just want to let everybody know that whatever you feel you would like to donate from tonight, I put it in the chat. I also put at the top of the chat the Native American Youth and Family Center, and then just appreciating and knowing the honor of carrying on the teachings. And so whatever you donate tonight will come to my PayPal account or my Venmo account, or you can send a check and I'll pass it along to Virāñāni.
Thank you, Candle.
So much. Yeah.
And much of what I get, I pass on to Burma, because Burma's not in the public eye right now because of Gaza and Ukraine, but it's bad. Let's just put it that way. It's really bad.
Do you have ways of getting money there? I guess you must.
It's not easy, but we do. And we're supporting nunneries right now in Sagaing, rebuilding their buildings after the earthquake, and nuns in Yangon. And hopefully three of the 6 of us will be able to go to Burma. I will not, because I'm blacklisted. I'm a bad person as far as they're concerned, but that's a compliment. But it's inconvenient. But 3 of us hopefully will be able to go with money in pocket this year, which makes it a lot easier. We work hand in hand with Better Burma, which is a wonderful organization worth supporting. And they've helped us get money in when it's difficult and distribute it when it's difficult.
Good.
So, any little bit helps, because it's really hard right now.